What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday, week 2 of the NFL. We're diving in with our player props. One from each game, like we did last week. After this week, we'll probably tone it down, do whatever feels right. But we're doing one from each game, keeping that trend going. Got Bills, Jets up first. This is an interesting one. Jets looked good against, the season opener, but they were going against the Steelers, so who knows? This one, Josh Allen, came out slinging against the Ravens. He ended up throwing for almost 400 yards, 394 yards. So I do think we see a little regression from that. I do not think he's putting 400 yards up against the Jets. I don't think he will have to. I think that's the only reason why he won't. Could he? Yes. I don't think he has to. So they're gonna run the ball a little bit. But he had 112 yards to Keon Coleman, his wide receiver 2. I think Khalil Shakir at over 45 and a half against these Jets. I mean, that's a couple passes for him. That's 4 receptions. I think he can hit 45 and a half pretty easily in this game. The other one I don't mind at all is the Kincaid. Kincaid's just always a reliable receiver for Allen. He gets 3 to 4 receptions a game. I think he can hit, 8 yards on average there. But I think official pick, we are going over 45 and a half. Your wide receiver 1 didn't, got half the yards of your wide receiver 2. I think wide receiver 1s like to get the ball. That's why they're getting paid the money. They want to have the stats. They want to go out there and continue that worth to the team. I think Khalil talks to Josh a little bit. Josh's like, I got you. I know. So I think he gets him his ball. The other thing, I mean, I like the Breece Hall rushing. Derrick Henry ran all over him, but Breece Hall is not Derrick Henry. And I could quickly see this game getting out of the Jets' hands. They're going to have to go to throwing real quick. In the same sense, I do think the Bills are able to, they were always playing from behind, and James Cook still got 44 yards. They're going to be playing ahead in this game, you would expect. So I think they give him, quite a few more touches. Again, the rush attempts here are tempting, a little bit more juice than I like. I don't like to go under 120 for props, over under props because of, you just don't know which way it's leaning. If you want to if you win that or you do it right, you definitely want to make that. So I do like the yards here if you don't, but official pick is going to be the over 45 and a half yards for Khalil Shakir. Next, we got the Giants against the Cowboys. We went through all the game lines in a previous video. That was posted Saturday. This is Sundays. We're going player props only. So if you want to check out our game lines, head back over there. Sunday. I don't know why I said Saturday. Sunday. Got the Giants, Cowboys. Cowboys looked okay against the Eagles. I mean, it's hard to compare what your team looks like against the defending Super Bowl champs. They obviously have a very good team, the Eagles, so it's hard to see just how well Dak and them can do it. They certainly were in the game. Couple of completions here and there. They definitely, that game looks a lot different. I do think they, take on the Giants, handle business there rather easily. So I don't love the passing side of this game. In the same sense, I mean, do I think CeeDee Lamb gets to 100 yards? Yes. Do I think Malik Neighbors gets his 75? Probably. Pickens, a little, you get a little questionable there. Doesn't look like a Wan'Dale Robinson line is out. I don't know if he's injured or not playing, or they just haven't came out with his line yet. This is Friday night when I'm filming this, so maybe it hasn't came out. But on the Giants side, I don't mind Slayton. Didn't even pick up a reception in that game. I can't trust Russell Wilson. So with that, going over to the actual rushing attempts for Javonte Williams. Had 15 in a game where they were behind, against the defending champs. Dak had to throw it quite a bit towards the end of the game. I think it's going to be exactly flipped this game. I think they're going to be up quite a bit. They're giving him the ball, running the clock out the last, quarter or so. I think he gets over 15 touches here. I don't mind the yards at 53 and a half, but generally towards the end of the game, you're expecting to run. So the defense is playing run defense. So it's a little bit harder to pick up yards late in the game. They're already up. It's potential he breaks out. He's already had his yardage, but I will feel a little better on the attempts here. Again, at the juice, I don't hate going, the over there, but, right around that 120 is probably where I stop this. Next, Browns, Ravens. This one, you got to expect the Ravens come out here and slaughter. Just put the Browns to rest. Make a statement game here. That's why I don't know if I can ride with any of the Ravens on the passing side. Joe Flacco, you expect to come out and sling. That he's a traditional pocket passer, so I think going receptions, going yards here is not a bad play for Flacco. I do think if you want to go Lamar under yardage. He's not. Every now and then he comes out with these big yardage games, throws the ball for quite a bit, but I think in this game they get out early, they get out big, and then it's a lot of handoffs to Henry, which is effective in itself. But I am going to go, knowing Flacco's going to have to throw a lot. He's probably going to have to throw early. I expect these Ravens to get out, 14, 17, nothing. I mean, I don't foresee that not happening. So I think Browns will have to throw early. You're throwing early, you're getting your receptions to your targets. Cedric Tillman's a wide receiver 2. If you remember, Bills-Ravens games, Keon Coleman, the Bills wide receiver 2, had the most yardage, 112. That makes you believe, Jerry Jeudy might have a little bit tighter coverage. Cedric Tillman, their wide receiver 2, may have a little bit, of an easier game playing that same role that Keon Coleman did. Maybe he picks up a surplus of yards here. We go over 44.5 for the Tillman. Next up, Jags, Bengals. This is a weird one. I'm not in love with any of the props in this game. We don't know. I mean, Bengals always start the season. Wrong one. Where am I going? Bengals always start the season really slow. It's so hard to pick them until like week 4, and then you just hit overs on the Bengals for everything. It's very easy to bet the Bengals after week 4. Just hit over whatever you see. Here, it seems they're really expecting the Bengals to come out here and, show up and show out. They got, Burrow, they got him at over 280 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns. This is over under. So I mean, they're expecting him to come out and sling. Trevor Lawrence, you just don't know what to expect. 170 yards last game, and not really looking great there. Within that same sense, I mean, if this line was 70, I'm probably hitting the over here. 86.5. Do I think he gets it? Yes, it's Ja'Marr Chase. 100 yards a game is, definitely in his realm. But I just don't, always love betting that, banking on it. And then you go to T. Higgins, wide receiver 2, 66 yards. You got to have, 70 yards for him. That's still quite a bit to, make up there as a wide receiver 2. Then you look on the Jaguars side. I just don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to do. I mean, I like T. Law. I think he's a decent quarterback. 11 yards to your main wide receiver last game. I mean, what happened there? 33 yards to the rookie who's playing both sides of the ball. I mean, what happened there? Your wide receiver 3 and your tight end combined for 110. I mean, I don't know if you expect that. Does he have a little different connection? Is he seeing their routes a little better? I mean, I don't know what happened there. And then on the flip side of the Bengals, it's hard to bet them early. Hard to bet them after what they just did with the Browns, 7 yards of offense in the second half. I mean, I'm staying away from that passing game. What I do think happens is Chase Brown, he looked pretty good in that first game. Again, they could not do anything in that second half. I don't know what happened. I expect him to come out, get the touches. I hope they go up just like this Vegas is expecting. If they go up big, he's going to be getting those rush attempts at the end of the game. Opportunities for definitely more yards. He got 21 in that first game. They're definitely giving him the ball. He's the main back. He's their go-to. That's what they're looking for. I think he can definitely get 70 yards against this Jaguars defense. Granted, the Browns defense, or not the Browns, the Bears defense that they played. No, they did play the Browns. The Browns defense, we'll figure these teams out. Browns defense is pretty good. I mean, you got Garrett there. You got a pretty good line there. They do win on the defensive side often. They're able to get some pressure for the quarterbacks, stop that run defense rather quickly. Jaguars do not have that same effect. So we're going over 69.5 yards for Chase Brown. Up next, we got Rams Titans. This one's an interesting one. You got Stafford, who's going to come out and throw 40 times a game. You got Cam Ward, you still don't really know what to expect. Did not look great in that season opener. Did have 28 pass attempts, so they allowed him to throw a little bit. They're expecting a little more here. We're expecting the Rams to get ahead, hold a lead early, so probably looking more pass heavy for Cam Ward. 112 yards off 28 attempts. You think they're saying 4 more attempts, he's going to get 100 more yards? He just wasn't connecting on his passes. Wasn't confident, wasn't hitting the routes, wasn't reading the defense well. Just can't really foresee that. And then again, Stafford, 240 yards in that first game. They're expecting him to come out, handle business early. Don't know if he keeps throwing. But one thing you did not see in last game, last year there was, Puka, then there was Cooper Kupp in there, but you saw Tutu Atwell come out there, made some plays, got some receptions, got plenty of yards. You know what we didn't see in game one? Didn't see Tutu Atwell. He had 1 reception for 4 yards. 20 yards for Tutu Atwell. I think he can definitely get that done. 2 to 3 catches his way. They're definitely seeing an uptick in what he's going to be doing here. Tank, they're thinking 2 receptions at least. I think he can get 20 yards and 2 receptions. I don't think he's going to, Puka Nacua got 14 targets last game. Definitely on par, but I think he looks around a little bit more and, gets Devontae a little bit, gets Tutu a little bit. I think we can certainly see that happening. On the rushing side, I think Tony Pollard, if you're not loving Tutu, Tony Pollard over is a pretty good yards. Get the weight off the rookie quarterback's shoulders a little bit. See if Tony Pollard can kind of break through. The Rams defense isn't known for being outstanding against the run. It's definitely a solid defensive team, but I do think Tony Pollard has a little bit more luck here. They utilize him a little bit more, but that said, let's head on over to the next one. What is it? Bears Lions. We haven't gotten to. So Bears Lions. Again, Goff, very similar to kind of Stafford. He's going to throw a lot, going to hit his targets. Got a lot of weapons there for this Lions team, and they did not look good that week 1 against Green Bay. Green Bay has came out and looked pretty good week 1 and week 2 now. So, maybe they're just firing all cylinders. They are expecting, Goff to bounce back here, 250 yards, a couple of touchdowns. They're looking here. So I do expect the Lions to bounce back and, show out as a good, formidable NFC opponent here. You got Amon-Ra, over 64.5, surely doable for him. No problem at all there. If you guys like that, I definitely can't fault you there. You do expect the Lions to come out. They take the lead early. They're expected to win by a couple of points here. I think a touchdown is the spread. Things they get that early and they're able to hold. I don't know. The Bears did not generate. They had that one, down and back in the Vikings game to start the game. And then they had a field goal the rest of the game. That's all they were able to manage. So that's against the Vikings. Lions definitely generally a better team. Hoping they bounce back here after the Packers. With that said, you don't think Goff, you don't think that offense is going to have to throw all game. We're taking the Jahmyr Gibbs. 19 yards in week 1. You don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to come out here with a revenge game, a get right game. He got drafted fantasy, granted, but he was a fantasy wide receiver or running back 3. It was Bijan, Jahmyr, and Saquon. I mean, you couldn't go wrong. You were picking them, top 6. You don't think he's going to garner up more than 19 yards this game? You don't think he's going to come out here pushing, going to get the envelope, going to get the, the touches and come out here for 100 yards or something? Yeah. No, I think he's definitely going to get the push here. That Bears is not the Green Bay team. We obviously saw how good they're looking. Bears defense is not Green Bay. Okay, I think Jahmyr Gibbs handles this no problem at all. Over 68.5 for Jahmyr Gibbs. Next up, this one's a tough one. No Purdy, no George Kittle. Don't think Ayuk from the lines and everything I'm seeing. I don't think Ayuk is in there. Just going to be an interesting game. You got Mac Jones. You're pulling last season stats. I don't even. Was he on the Niners last year? I don't even think he was on the Niners. I think he was with the Jaguars last year. So definitely, weird, different defense or different offensive scheme, but it's the Saints. I mean, it's the Saints. I don't know, unanimously going into the season was ranked the worst team offensive and defensive. You got Spencer Rattler, who threw 46 times in the first game. Probably a very similar game here. I mean, I'm concerned that he throws his arm out. I don't know if he continues. You gotta expect if he's chucking though, Olave's getting the ball. Juwan Johnson, 76 yards in that first one, only 40 here. Definitely a good option there. But we're heading over to the rushing side. Mac Jones. You got no main receivers out here from what I can tell. Your Brock Purdy's out. You got Mac Jones in. George Kittle is out. Christian McCaffrey's there. 22 attempts with Purdy, with Kittle, with the normal scheme. You don't think a new quarterback, he's going to get more attempts? You think he's only getting 17. This is plus money on the over under at 19 attempts. He got 22 last game. You got to expect, this not great Saints team. Hopefully they can get out early and, it's just kind of give McCaffrey the ball, run out this play clock, slow, methodical, like Shanahan does. I'm taking over 18 and a half, rush attempts for Christian McCaffrey. You don't even need to worry about the rushing yards. If he gets 1 to 2 a game or 1 to 2 every time, whatever. He is their workhorse. He is what they're going to be, feeding him. With Mac Jones at the helm, I can't really say that they're going to trust him and, just let him keep slinging. I think they draw out the clock. They get, work down the field slowly like they do, and they just keep giving the McCaffrey the ball. Up here, we haven't checked touchdown scores because I just don't love them up until now. As you can see, I have Kenneth Walker plus 170 for your running back to get in the end zone against the Steelers defense that just let up 80 yards to Breece Hall and plenty, 4 touchdowns to the Jets. Yeah, no, I like Kenneth Walker. Didn't have the best first game. You're seeing, I definitely see some regression here from Rodgers. I don't hate unders. 4 touchdowns last game, 250 yards last game, 30 pass attempts last game. I mean, I don't think he does more this game. I definitely think they move more to a rushing side. I think Rodgers was making a statement there. But on the other side, I mean, Sam Darnold at 150 yards and 125 of it went to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't think that same percentage is going to keep up. I think Kupp gets more involved. I almost had Kupp here at over 32 and a half. It's just with how much he targeted Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, is that I don't feel so comfortable at Kupp. I almost picked him. But everybody else, I think we see regression from. I just don't think, JSN is going to keep up 125 yards. Don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to keep throwing, keep chucking, keep getting touchdowns, 250 yards every game. So I think we see, regression from the Steelers players here. The only one I almost thought was Pat Fryerton. I don't know. Pat Fryermuth over 26 and a half. I didn't hate that line. I feel like it's definitely a formidable one. And on the rushing side, we take a look here. Kenneth Walker had 20 yards last game off 10 carries. Yeah, I think he's doing a little get right game. I think he comes back out here, gets into the end zone, gets his rushing yards. I think Kenneth Walker has himself a game here, taking the touchdown at any time for Kenneth Walker. Up next, New England Patriots with the Miami Dolphins. Oh, we got ourselves a doozy here. The Dolphins, I can't touch him. I want to go Tyreek Hill receiving yards. I can't. I don't. Tua was throwing behind him some of the games. I mean, I don't know what he was doing. Um, didn't make great decisions. Didn't seem like the Dolphins we saw 2 years ago, where they were dropping 50 points every other game. I mean, we were definitely expecting, hit the overs on everything for the Dolphins, and we just didn't see that. They couldn't run, they couldn't defend, they couldn't pass, they couldn't get open. Their play calling was questionable from McDaniels. It didn't look good for the Dolphins. On the flip side, Drake May, almost 300 yards, threw the ball 46 times. I mean, I don't foresee why he won't come out here and do the same thing. I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter game here. I think it's back and forth. I give the edge to the Patriots, even though the lines say Dolphins. But Kayshawn, 103 yards in that first game, and then you're dropping it down to 41, and I don't see any reason why there's any different, play style here in this game. Even with them underdogs, that does help us here. I think there's something with a chemistry. You got Stephon Diggs, you got Hunter Henry involved, but Kayshawn comes out with over 100 yards game one, and then you're just going to drop him 60 yards, and that's your line for the next game. I think, he stays, he gets 50. Do I think he's going to get 100 again? Probably not. Maybe him and Diggs flip numbers here. Diggs gets 100, he gets 57. That still cashes us. I don't see him just, being taken out of the equation completely. I think he's still definitely going to be involved in Drake May's passing scheme here. So we're going to take the over 41.5 for Kayshawn. Up next, we have Panthers Cardinals. This is an interesting one. Panthers didn't look good by any means. The Cardinals, you expect to come out here and kind of handle business, do what they need to do. With that said, I think they have to, the Cardinals don't pass as much, in the fourth quarter. I think this is not even a blowout game, but I could definitely see the Cardinals being up, up 7, up 10, fourth quarter. Maybe the Panthers 3 and out. The Cardinals are just kind of methodically working down the field. So I don't love the passing yard props on this one. They're kind of right about where they were last game. Marvin's down 15 yards. McBride's right where he was. Wilson didn't really get involved. I mean, Kyler Murray, you're looking more of a rushing quarterback. And then Bryce Young, you just haven't seen enough to kind of back him. Not that you haven't seen enough. I mean, he played all last year. He just hasn't shown enough. I haven't felt the confidence in Nick and Bryce. Haven't really seen him read defense as well, make those passes, make those, changes to his game. It's like if the one thing he doesn't think is going to happen, he throws the ball away, or he makes, he gets sacked, or he tries to rush. He doesn't look through his options very well. Doesn't make, any reads on the defense. If they, they're showing we're rushing 7 and they back 2 off, that throws Bryce all off. He'd probably getting sacked. So I don't feel confident in going to his receivers on this one. And we're going to take, like I said, hopefully Cardinals come up. They're up big. They're able to kind of rush a lot more in the later game. 39 yards for James Conner last game. I think he comes out here, over 65.5, definitely in his wheelhouse here. I think, the Cardinals are in a little bit different position than they were last week. They're kind of in a more of a winning, controlling game position here against the Panthers. I think James Conner gets the benefit of that. When they don't have to come out, they don't have to keep slinging, they don't have to keep passing. Over 65.5 rushing yards for James Conner. Colts Broncos. What did we witness with these Indianapolis Colts? I think put up 30 plus on the Dolphins. Danny Dimes is dishing out dimes. I mean, what did we just see? This is definitely a little bit more of a formidable opponent, Colts, but if they keep that kind of momentum going, they keep what they did going, their game plan going. I mean, Bo Nix throws for 40 yards or 40 times a game. Daniel Jones 30 times a game. They keep that going. I don't hate the where the passing yards go for Nix. The 232.5 passing yards for Nix. If he keeps throwing for 40 yards a game, he's gonna connect. Granted, he only had 176 last game, but he's going to connect. He's going to figure those things out. He's going to hit Jeudy. He's going to hit, Sutton. Or not Jeudy. Judy's on the Browns. He's going to hit Sutton. He's going to hit Franklin. He's going to get those guys going. And I think he, eventually starts to connect. But on the flip side, Daniel Jones threw for 272 yards. Again, I've said this before. Josh Downs is your wide receiver one. He got 12 yards last game. Your wide receiver ones are, got a little bit of an ego. They don't like to not be thrown to. I think, he talks to him. They get back on the same page here. 40 yards for Josh Downs. Yeah, no problem at all. I can definitely see him hitting that. Definitely in this instance as well. Last game, they kind of didn't need to pass as much as they did. They just kind of kept the foot on the gas. They kind of started rushing a little bit more in the fourth, just because they were up by so much. Here, I could definitely see them, playing behind a little bit. Very tight game. Keep passing, keep rushing, keep their same game formula. Josh Downs could catch 4 passes for 36.5 yards. I can certainly see that. Receptions. Let's see. They have Josh Downs at, they have him at that 4 receptions. That's what they're expecting. 4 receptions for 10 yards apiece. I can certainly see Downs getting that. On the rushing side, just to kind of show you, I got Jonathan Taylor about what he had last week. Certainly see that, staying the same here. Dobbins and Harvey, you saw the share get split. 6 rush attempts for Harvey, but he definitely made the most of it at 70 yards. You got to expect, maybe his shares go up a little bit here, but Dobbins was the clear, running back. Running back 1 is what I was trying to say. Clear running back 1. 16 attempts, about triple what Harvey got. Didn't make the most of it, though. 63 yards on 16 attempts. Harvey, 70 yards on 6 attempts. So you can definitely see the difference there. So I don't know how that's going to shake out. Do they give Harvey the edge? They kind of back it down and go 50-50 with those two. That's why I'm kind of staying away from the rushing props there. I do like Downs to kind of get his 36.5 receiving yards. Next, we got the Eagles and the Chiefs. Eagles took on the Cowboys, and it was all running. Hurts was running. Saquon was running. Javonte Williams of the Cowboys was running. Definitely more than they thought. But let me bring you over to these receiving yards last game for the Eagles. These are yards, not completions. These are yards for the Eagles. A.J. Brown, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 8 yards. Devontae Smith, 1,000-yard seasons, 16 yards. Your wide receiver 1 and 2, who are, top 10 wide receivers in the game, combined for 24 yards. Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be throwing this game. I think there's going to be some conversations to add. Definitely against the Chiefs as well. These guys want to make a statement. They beat the Cowboys. Definitely a good NFC team to beat, but this is the Super Bowl rematch. I think the Eagles are going to be like, no, we're still a step above. I think they come out here, and I think Hurts turns to throw a little bit more. He's got 152 yards last game. I think he does, 210 yards this game. I think Smith, A.J. Brown get a little bit more involved. You can definitely see him hitting that. And they're expecting him to, 150 yards last game. They're putting him at 208 this game. They're certainly seeing that, that coverage there. Now, let me see over here. On the rushing side, Pacheco had the attempts last game. The Chiefs were playing down to the Chargers. You generally don't see that, but no offensive power in the Chiefs here. I think they go to Pacheco to try to, extend drives, get those couple of downs. No Worthy, no Rice. Travis Swift didn't look very good last game. I think they got to kind of look to Pacheco to, get a couple yards, get more runs in there. And I'm taking his over 34.5 rushing yards. I think he's just kind of, if the Chiefs want to stay in this game, he's got to extend the field. He's got to extend plays. He's got to get those yards in. I think they look to him to do that here. And it's not very often you see him come out of a game with 25. See him, bounce back here, get 60 yards. Granted, Eagles defense is definitely pretty good, pretty formidable, but he's done it before. He'll do it again. Taking Pacheco over 34.5 rushing yards. Next, Vikings, Falcons, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix. One of them's, got a full year under his belt. The other one just coming back into it. As you can see, I am leaning the JJ McCarthy over 214.5 passing yards. He definitely started to figure things out in that second half of that game. Got up and down the field, was throwing touchdowns. I mean, a rookie quarterback in a half basically had 40 yards, 30 yards in the first half. So all of this kind of happened in the second half for him. Started to figure it out, started to feel comfortable, found Justin Jefferson, was scrambling, making plays, had a rushing touchdown. Can certainly see him, feeling a little bit more comfortable going up against an opponent that he's, seen before in Michael Penix. Probably a little bit more confidence in that as well. I do think he comes out here and feels good. Falcons defense, generally not as formidable as the Bears. The Bears defense is what they're kind of known for, not really their offense. They kind of hold those low scoring games. The unders hit a lot with the Bears. They're kind of able to hold those opponents. I think this one turns into more of a shootout, more of a throwing game between these two young quarterbacks. These high props of those wide receiver ones here is what's kind of leaving me away. Like I said, rookie young quarterbacks, maybe they spread it well. I think JJ McCarthy had like 7 different receivers or 9 different receivers. I mean, he definitely spread it around quite a bit in that first game. Yeah, you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, just what they have lines on them. Generally, they don't have like wide receiver 3, 4s, tight end 2s on lines. But that'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays. One thing I was, interested about, Adam Thielen didn't get a reception that game. You would think he would want to he'd get Thielen involved a little bit more in this game. But yeah, these lines are pretty high. I don't love that. I don't think Bijan replicates 100 yards again. So I'm staying away. I just don't know what his baseline is going to look like. And on the rushing side, you expect Bijan. He's probably going to get 100 yards if this game stays close. They're able to stay in their same, game plan. Mason, 68 yards last game. They were down, so they kind of had to throw, and they still got him 60 yards. 60 yards in this game certainly seems feasible. And then you see the Jones, line definitely very similar there, but definitely saw the share. Every touch Jones got, Mason was getting 2. So you can see it there. And then Bijan's clear running back 1 for the Falcons. I do think McCarthy feels good, comes out, throws a lot more, feels a lot better. Only threw 20 times in that Bears game. I think they were a little bit more cautious. But as that second half developed, as he was seeing a little bit more, he definitely came out and started throwing. So I like him over 214.5 passing yards. That is going to round it up. Let's go back through. We have Khalil Shakir over 45.5 receiving yards. Javonte Williams over 14.5 rushing yards. Or rushing attempts. I apologize. Over 44.5 receiving yards for Cedric Tillman. Over 69.5 rushing yards for Chase Brown. Over 20.5 Tutu Atwell receiving yards. Over 68.5 Jahmyr Gibbs rushing yards. Over 18.5 Christian McCaffrey rushing attempts. Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown score. Keyshawn Bout for the Patriots, over 41.5 receiving yards. James Conner, over 65.5 rushing yards. Over 36.5 Josh Downs receiving yards. I think Danny Dimes gets him involved a lot more. Pacheco for the Chiefs, over 34.5 rushing yards. And JJ McCarthy, over 214.5 passing yards. Appreciate you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you're tailing in the comments. Till next time.